At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
This just in, hot off the bench press. Planet Fitness has added new strength equipment. Save $28 or more when you join today, and you can be one of the first to try it out. We're raising the bar with new benches, and our new hack squat will have you actually looking forward to leg day. Plus, we're still repping all of the best-in-class equipment we've always had, with most clubs open 24 hours, so you can work out your way on your time. So let's do this. Join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more. Just $1 down, $15 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends January 10th. See Home Club for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Molby on the Spot, your chance, thanks to Anfield Index Pro, to hear the wit and wisdom of your friend of mine, Mr. Jan Molby. So let us welcome him back after a couple of weeks to your ears only on this occasion because of technical issues. My end, different laptop, no camera, no apologies. You're getting Jan. Good evening, Jan.
Yeah, good evening, Trev. It has indeed been a while, but we've missed lots short about nothing disastrous, is it? So, but let's start in a proper fashion by wishing everybody a happy new year, Trevor.
That's exactly where we should have gone from the start. So thank you for leading me back there. Hopefully all of you are having exactly that and will continue to have a very good 2025 from myself and from Jan and from everyone at AI. And hopefully you enjoyed your Christmas break because if you're anything like me, it's lovely to be around the people that you love for a little while. And then it's nice to get away again and have your own bit of space too. And I managed that rare kind of combo this time around. So I have to say it was a pleasant one for me. And like you say, Jan, there's nothing to complain about on the Reds front. In that period of time that we haven't done a show, it's been pretty bloody impressive. Some incredible results. And we're so nicely set up on the back of those results. And the fact that when we did, in inverted commas, drop points, with a couple of draws, which is, let's just put that in context. Other teams then went and lost. And so we're looking around us now and there's still this sort of fresh air and there's that cushion of the game in hand as well. I don't think there's anybody in the early goings, when it was looking quite hopeful, that could have expected that the margin that we have going into 2025 would be quite what it is. Even the most optimistic amongst us who thought it was going well and maybe this will take, you go back to, say, the end of October, to think about where we are now. It's better than we could have expected. And it feels now, Jan, like there's a different kind of pressure now, isn't there? Because the league is there for us. And, whether people like to hear these things or not, it is kind of ours now to throw away, which is a different type of pressure.
Well, it's becoming harder and harder to find reasons why Liverpool wouldn't win the title. The gap to pursue is one thing, but I almost think that the biggest thing is the way that we're playing. There's teams who have been in the league before and maybe not been as impressive as we've been, but we've been ever so impressive. And the final kind of thing is that we haven't got that Manchester City looking over our shoulders and you think when we get to the new year, they'll win 15 on the bounce. Yeah, good luck. They can win 15 on the bounce if they want, but it won't be enough for them. Having said all of that, I don't believe that the state they're in at the moment, they could win 15 on the bounce anyway. So as I said before, it is coming more and more difficult. Of course, you look at some of the fixtures, and there's still difficult games, difficult away games in it, but we just look a level above, and we look capable of dealing with any challenge, anything anyone brings. We deal with it, so it's looking extremely good.
When you think about the last couple of Premier League games, last time out was last Sunday, the 29th of December, a 5-0 away win at West Ham, which, regardless of what you think of their current form, is quite an impressive result. And previous to that, we had, I think, our umpteenth Boxing Day, as you guys call it over there, Stevens' Day, as we call it over here, win in a row against Leicester, 3-1 at home on the 26th. Before that, there was that kind of mad game where we allowed Spurs to score 3 goals, is how I remember it, whilst scoring 6 ourselves, when, as John Aldridge famously said one day, I think in a post-match thing, it could have been 9. And it just felt really impressive. We had the Carabao Cup win against Southampton before that. And you have to go all the way back to the 14th of December, where we had the, inverted commas, disappointing draw against Fulham. This run that we're on currently, wrapping up goals, a 3, a 5, a 6 in the last 3 games. People have been raising their eyebrows a little bit at the concession of the 3, at the concession of 1 against Leicester, at the concession of 1 against Southampton, 2 against Fulham. And that's all people have to complain about, Jan. This is good. You got to say, this is a good place we're in now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I was amazed that the Spurs away game was the first time this season we scored more than 3 goals in a Premier League game. And I guess that's why when you look back at maybe the first 16, 17 games of the season, and you're not quite sure where this team's going to take this, maybe because we haven't been racking up big scores. You always think that when you're winning 1-0 or 2-1, there's always a chance that the opposition will come back, isn't it? But I think we kind of put that to bed over the last few games and gone, we're more than capable. And we're just getting, if anything, we're getting better and better. So as much as we've got some really difficult games coming up, as I said before, Trev, I just can't see. You look at opposition, you think, what have they got? And there isn't anything any team in the Premier League have got that worries me. Yes, there's good teams in the Premier League, but I just feel that we're in a position where whatever they decide to turn up with on the day, we've got more than enough to cope with.
I saw only yesterday evening, and again, you're a very wise man who doesn't expose yourself to this type of thing, but I saw a whole conversation built around the fact, it wasn't yesterday evening, it was the evening of the last Arsenal game, where they played their 19th fixture to our 18 and won, and went on to 39 points to our 45, so 6-point gap. And the conversation was along the lines of, do we need to be worried? Is anyone else worried? And again, you've said it now a couple of different ways and in a couple of different styles. Who is it that's going to have what it takes to measure up to us in the second half if we don't fall away badly? And Arsenal would be the obvious answer there. Forest are hanging in there in a very impressive way on 37 points. And I keep hearing the phrase, does anyone expect Forest to be there at the end? And I know where that phrase is coming from. And I think it's not unintelligent or anything like that. And I don't think it's meant to be dismissive. It's just kind of more realistic. But you got to say, they have done really well to be where they are still. And Chelsea were the other big worry at the moment, seeing as, like you said, City's form has fallen off a cliff. They're back on 31 points. They're going to have an absolutely perfect record and hope that we go to shit. But we'll draw the line there at Chelsea on 35, on 19 games played, 10 points behind us, with a game in hand. So, as you said, who is it that can muster the kind of run that's necessary to take this away from us? And the other part of it is there anyone, or is there any way that you see it falling apart that badly for Liverpool? Because one of the main things about the performances, Jan, has been that we might have had a bad half here or there, but there's always a kind of a rally in the second half, or we might concede a couple of goals where we shouldn't have, but we always do enough to win. Whatever it is about the functional way Slot has this team playing, we know when to turn on the style. We play to the final whistle, which I always loved about the Klopp era. And we have, I hate to say it, it's a Pep Guardiola cliche, but we have found different ways to win matches, which is very heartening.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot in that question there, Trevor. But if you look at, you were talking about the other teams, yeah. Chelsea, seriously, I enjoy watching Chelsea. You know, I think they've got some really good players, and I think on their day they play some really good football. But go through them, you know. Start with the goalkeeper. We've got 2 goalkeepers who are better than all 7 goalkeepers they got. You know, so you go through and you go, listen, somebody's going to finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and whatever. And they will probably finish in the top 4 because they got some really good players. Coming back to, you were talking about before, the main challenger will be Arsenal. Yeah, if Liverpool don't win the Premier League, Arsenal will. And if Liverpool win it, Arsenal will finish 2nd. That's how I view it now. In terms of Nottingham Forest, they're doing really well. But it's also new experience for a lot of their players. They're a really, really young team, them, Trevor. They bought really well. They've got some really good young players. They'll finish 6th or 7th. You mentioned Manchester City. Manchester City, I think, has got a hope that the top 5 in the Premier League qualifies for the Champions League, because I'm not sure they're going to finish the top 4. So that's where we're at the moment, isn't it? But like you said, I spoke to some people a while ago about Army Club and, you know, trying to explain to people what it is he does. And I said he's a really good troubleshooter. You know, he solves problems. And they said, well, why can't he solve problems, you know, before the game? Because we've had 3 or 4 really poor. I said, well, you can't solve a problem until you've got a problem, have you? You know, so Arne Slot watches the first half and he goes to things I don't like and he changes at half time. And I think he's the best in the business of doing that, isn't it? So, yeah, I just, for love or money, Trevor, I can't see it. For the game on Sunday against Manchester United, in the studio before the game, we will talk about what does it take for Liverpool not to win the title. And the only thing we talk about is injuries, you know, and what happens is, and you go, yeah, but, you know, clutching the straws, isn't it? You know, that's the best you can come up with. Yeah, happens if Mo gets injured, what happens if Birdie, but what happens if they don't? And it's more likely they won't, because Mo has no injury record as such. And Manchester United, really, you know, that one injury against Everton. So why all of a sudden do we think that just because we're 6 points clear with the game in hand, all of a sudden our best players are going to get injured? It ain't going to happen, is it? So the only thing you've got to hang your hat on is that, yeah, difficult games, energetic teams we play, the likes of Brighton, Brentford and Bournemouth away, and we still got to go to Villa Park, we still got to go to Manchester City, we still got to go to Everton, we still got to go to Forest. They're difficult games, isn't it? But as I said before, when you turn up, it's a bit like we had the Champions League, though, Trevor. Do you remember what you said? You said, I don't like these opposition. I said, don't worry, we're a level above them. And I feel the same now. I didn't feel like this 2 months ago, but I feel the same now at this level in the Premier League. So the next tough away game we have is Forest on a Tuesday night. And that's a tough game. But it won't be once we turn up and do our stuff. We will just be a level above them. We'll control the game. We'll do our stuff. I'm not suggesting we're going to win 3 or 4-0, but we will win.
And that is the place that we've been blessed to be in for almost 85 or 90% of our time doing this show together. Certainly 80% of it. I'm always quoting that as well, because there's no other show that I have where there's any sort of a prediction element of any of the other 4 or 5 shows that I do for the channel. And I always talk about this part of our show on other shows and the lovely calm that we have when it comes to it, because you can say that and not be in any way anything other than honest, that if the Reds turn up and do what the Reds are capable of doing, we're going to be better than almost everybody else. And to see it happen in real time against the likes of Real and City this year is very heartening. I just want to have a quick word about 2 other clubs who've sort of fallen away currently. That's Aston Villa, who you mentioned briefly, in the 9th position on 29 points. Brighton would like to be a little bit higher than 10th, but I guess Brighton have to be realistic as well about where they are, and they'll probably sell some more players soon and buy some more great young players as well. And then Tottenham, Aston Villa and Tottenham were the 2 that I wanted to talk to you about. First of all, Unai Emery was really being lauded for what he was doing, and he does seem to have a happy knack of doing well in European competition in the various the cup that he's won several times, and I think he's very much an admired coach. Do you think things are starting to level off a little bit for him there? Do you see any other reason why they're not back up worrying the top 4 or 5, or do you expect them to get back there? And pretty much the same question then for Spurs. There was quite a lot of admiration for Ange Postecoglou and the way he was going about his business. Then there was very much a spell where there was a lot of criticism. I don't know, are they rallying a little bit? Do you expect them to be back up, kind of worrying those European positions, and for the table to sort of, I don't know if right itself is the correct phrase, but you know what I mean, the more kind of the clubs you would have expected at the start of the season? Do you expect Villa and Spurs to be back up in the reckoning for Europa League, Europa Conference at least?
Yeah, probably. I think the two clubs in question have to be disappointed if they don't. If we start with Villa, I'm even sure we discussed this on some of the early podcasts during the season, Trevor, that the European football would play havoc with their season. And one of the reasons being that Unai Emery is quite prepared to put anything into a European campaign. And he's done that. They've done ever so well in the Champions League. And I probably think that they might be one of the clubs that's going to be the top 8 going through to the next stage. And they'll do well because on the day they're a good team. So European football, and they've lost the ability to keep clean sheets. They simply concede too many goals. I mean, I believe their goalkeeper for the second year running was voted the best goalkeeper in the world, but for love of money, you can't keep a clean sheet. And that's a problem. And I also think that last year, and I think we're seeing a little bit with Newcastle now. Newcastle stands to find a bit of form. And I think Newcastle is a serious challenge for top 4 because they've got no European football. And Aston Villa were more or less the same last year, no European football. When I'm talking about European football, I'm talking about the Champions League. Because you've seen with Chelsea, if you're playing one of the less European tournaments, you can see what you can do. Chelsea played 2 teams because the lesser tournaments are not as strong in it. So European football for Premier League teams is Champions League. And the fact that Villa didn't have that last year was a massive help. The fact that Newcastle don't have that this season is a massive help. Spurs, I have to be honest, Trevor, when Ange came in, I thought, wow, what a good addition to the Premier League. He plays some really good stuff, attacking stuff. You know, I'm all over the Premier League being entertainment and business. Let's go and let's have some entertaining football. The problem with Ange now is that he's now been, I think he is being required to build a defensive structure. And he's never done that before. You know, and I think that's really becoming a problem for him, trying to build a defensive structure. And of course, injuries. But I think they'll find it more difficult than Aston Villa to maybe make their way back up towards, top 4, maybe even 5th or 6th.
This is MLS and U.S. soccer commentator Brian Dunseth here to tell you the only podcast you need to fulfill your weekly soccer needs. It's Week in the Tackle.
And I'm Tom Rennie. We'll talk the Premier League title race, the Champions League, MLS expansionism, and the ongoing disappointments of our respective teams. It's all on Week in the Tackle.
Didn't your West Ham just win a European trophy?
Ah, that night in Prague. Sorry, what were we talking about?
A Week in the Tackle available wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single episode.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
One of the big driving forces as to whether or not we're going to be able to maintain what we've done in the first half is very much what you said, keeping the current squad intact. There are a couple of outstanding issues, and if we don't address them, people are just going to be annoyed that we didn't address them, as opposed to, not to denigrate anything you might say on it, but unless you've gotten some insider information, we're not going to be able to add a whole lot on the topic of the contracts. We will speak about it briefly here, but the other thing then is the idea of recruitment, and if it should or will happen, and they're very different things, of course. Let's start with the contract thing, because I know for a fact it's really getting on people's tits at this stage, Jan, because when you see a performance like Mo had the last day in the 5-0 win at West Ham, and he's still there with a kind of sad head in him afterwards, having been beaming and smiling and talking about how great things were, when he's asked about the contract situation, his face goes completely dour and he says, "I'm nowhere close to any kind of arrangement yet." No one wants to hear that. But generally speaking, people are kind of optimistic because he seems so happy. He's playing so well. He seems positive to the idea of staying, as does Virgil van Dijk. But we're no closer to any definite news on them one way or the other. A couple of the more, I don't know, in the know journalists suggesting that those things might be close to being done. But again, I want to hear what you've heard about that. And the one that has been causing all the ructions still, because it's so vague. There's so few details about it. Something being leaked there today or yesterday that Trent was, that Liverpool were saying that Trent was absolutely not for sale, and that there was some sort of derisory offer from Madrid on the table. So just let's talk about those 3 contracts and whether or not you've heard anything or a general feeling you have on it. And by the way, don't feel the need to spend any time on this if you don't want to, because I understand there might be nothing new to say on it.
Well, I don't really think there is a lot new to say on the matter, Trevor. Obviously, negotiations are ongoing. There is a feeling that, I've said this 100 times now, there's a feeling that the Virgin and Mo will eventually sign, it looks more and more like 2-year extensions. But again, I guess the people who tell me that are probably guessing as well. The other one that annoys me is the Trent situation. So there was a story this morning that, Trent is set to play against Manchester United in the midst of, uncertainty about his future at Liverpool. I mean, what's changed in the last few days? I mean, how dramatic can you get about something? And it appears that the 3 players are very calm about the situation. It also appears that the club is very calm about the situation. I think everybody regrets that we got you here. This should have been sorted, but I think everybody's pretty calm about it. And in the end, we will get the outcome that everybody wants, which, and when I talk about it, I'm not just talking about the club, I'm also talking about the players, isn't it? And if Trent wishes to go somewhere else, then that's how it'll be, isn't it? But how people have criticised him over the last few years or whatever, or a few days, sorry, I was coming back from the Brentford Arsenal game the other night, travelling back, listening to Talk Sport, and phoned in, Liverpool fans phoned in about Trent, and I thought it was disgraceful. The boy's never done anything wrong. He's only ever done his best. It's his career. Whatever he chooses to do, we should wish him well and just be delighted that if this is the end, that we've had him for so many years, we were blessed to see somebody who could do what he could, because there's not many in the game who's capable of getting anywhere near what he does on the football pitch.
Yeah, I'm very much along with that in so many ways. I think the only thing that sort of, like I say, gets on people's goat is the concept that there might be a kind of cynical running down of the contract by the man himself, in terms of knowing that if he signed and went 6 months later, a year later, Liverpool could make a massive fee out of him. That's putting on Trent the responsibility for Liverpool's finances, which what I like about talking to you is, as someone who's played at the very highest level, you always have this lovely pragmatism about the fact that a player has one career, you get one go round, you roll with the punches, you take what is best for you and your family in any given moment, and that's what you do. And I've been of the opinion that if the 3 lads are playing at a high level, and 2 of them are at kind of all-time levels, and Trent has been very good, and there's nothing happening to derail the season, then outside of that, contracts are contracts, and we can be upset about them all we like, and we can maybe be a little bit more upset with the way the Trent thing panned out than if Mo or Virgil were to leave because the deals couldn't be sorted. But if they're doing their job whilst in contract to the football club, everything else is just noise, especially, Jan, when there's not one but two big pots on the table for us.
Yeah, it is incredible, Trevor. I'm really impressed with the way that everybody's kept calm about this. Because of what I do for a living in terms of covering, and you go around to a lot of football clubs, and sometimes you see how little it takes to derail football clubs, wherever that might be. And the best example is always Manchester United, how little it takes to derail them as a football club. And then you look at, every club has contract issues with players, but very few clubs would have had it with the possibly three top players, yeah? In a season where you're still going for every trophy available. And for it not to have any impact, I think is very impressive.
And so far, like you say, everyone seems to be very much handling it well. It's great to see the interviews. Saw a great interview with Mo. She's talking about all his pals at the club. Our club has gone so good in terms of the PR with the stuff you see from the background. It's not forced. You can see there's genuine camaraderie. There seems to be a great buzz around the place. Slot seems to have earned the respect of the top lads, the sort of dominant personalities, which is massive, of course. And like, again, this is something I've touched on with you several times, but there's probably no tougher room, Jan, than a bunch of hardened and experienced and successful footballers. There's probably no tougher room than that. And you walk into that room and you can manage to not just hold your own, but be impressive to them. I think that says quite a lot. And that's probably the single most important factor here in why the season has gone well, isn't it? The people have bought right in. The important people have bought right in.
It doesn't matter, Trevor, whether it's a manager, a coach, or a player. You know, the dressing room will always lean back and go, who's that? What's he ever done? You know, and that goes for all of them. So Liverpool's dressing room would have felt that they just played under one of the most inspirational managers in world football in Jurgen Klopp. A guy who'd been able to go toe-to-toe with Pep Guardiola. And there was a feeling that those two guys were the two top managers in the world. And then Arne Slot comes from his Feyenoord background, isn't it? You know, and they would have probably said to Virgil van Dijk and Gravenberch and whatever, what's this guy like? And I guess they would have had to say, not really sure. Yeah, on the face of it, he's done a really, really good job. But so had Erik ten Hag prior to him coming to Manchester United. And in generally, Dutch managers haven't done particularly well in the Premier League. So you fully understand why the dressing would have gone, he needs to hit the ground running here. You know, from the first whistle of the pre-season, he needs to hit the ground running. By all accounts, he did. He's been very honest with the players. His coaching sessions, I believe, are off the scale. So, yeah, but he is. Trev, I watched a bit of his press conference this morning. So this is Friday, leading up to the game on Sunday. And he was talking about the contracts. Now, he doesn't go into details because the contracts are not on his desk. He doesn't really deal with it. But he was talking about Virgil and, you know, he's spoken to Virgil. He said there's certain things I'd like Virgil to improve on. And I thought, wow, you know, that's some statement, isn't it? And then he spoke about Trent and he said, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Trent this season, with his defending has improved. He said, but still, some things are a little bit up and down, inconsistent. And I thought, wow, you know, he's talking about top players here and he still thinks that they can improve and show more. But what amazes me is that he's not scared of the reaction from the players because he knows that he's earned their respect. So the players ain't going to go, I can't believe you just said that about me. They're going to go, yeah, okay, I understand Ronan, and he's probably told me already. So I know exactly what he's on about with this. So whereas in the past at other clubs, that might be the signal for players to get upset because what the manager said in public is, but he's got so much credibility in the bank that people go, yeah, well, fair enough. He's not 100% happy with these people. So on we go. But yeah, he's gone from, not on who, you know what I mean, but come on, Arnie, you need to show us what you've got to just blow us all away.
You're right. The press conferences are where he really comes into his own. And I read what he said about Virgil, Trent, Mo, all separately. He's asked separate questions about all of them. And I was reminded of something, Bob Paisley, before psychology was really a part of the game that people thought about much, except, the really clever innovators like Shankly and obviously Bob and people like Clough. Before it was really a thing, I remember Bob Paisley used to talk, when he'd be told about the opposition, he had this phrase he always used to say, like, you give them a bit of toffee, so you talk up the opposition, you'd say how great they were. That was his way of psychologically approaching it. So it would seem probably even better, build up lessen the expectation of Liverpool as a team and build up the opposition in the minds of everybody else. And it was a simple little thing that he used to do, but in a cynical way. Arne, like, in a way that's almost maybe a little bit more so than Jurgen, is very matter of fact in that way. Like, Jurgen always had his players' backs. And if anything, people thought that he might have gotten a little bit overly sentimental at times. He just speaks in this dispassionate way that's equal parts praise and sort of, it's like, here's what's great about you, here's what you could do better. And I mean, he's the guy in charge. He has to be able to say that. I love that he can. I think you're so right. I think it's important that not only can he say that, but he's accepted in saying that, and that there's not this sort of bitterness, amongst some of the people who are being spoken about. The other part of it then, if we get past the contracts, is the idea of recruitment. And we're right bang in the middle of the time now when that can happen. We're also very short period of time away from when those players that we mentioned about the contracts can go and make pre-contract arrangements with other clubs. That's the reality. Do you think that will have any bearing whatsoever on how things are going? We can talk about the calmness, and you're right to do that. But there must be a little level of anxiety. Do you think the possibility of winning the Premier League, the very real possibility of winning the Premier League, might have a little bit of influence here, that a purchase or two might be made that otherwise might not have been? Or do you see happening what's happened on a couple of occasions in recent seasons where you and I have both been talking about, well, we could really do with a centre half, we could really do with a central midfielder, or we could really do with someone in that wing or a left back or whatever, and they just roll with the punches? I mean, I have this suspicion that they're going to do that again, Jan.
The one thing you'd have to do is obviously to convince Richard Hughes, who would then have to convince people above him that we'll improve our chances of winning the Premier League by signing players. And I think that's going to be very difficult, simply because you have to expect there to be some settling period, and they're quite happy with what they got. I was amazed that I was told to somebody who is pretty well connected, and we spoke about January, and I said, do you think anything will happen? He said, well, the club don't think anything will happen, but they've said that before. So the Luis Diaz thing was kind of forced on us, wasn't it? Because all of a sudden Spurs and West Ham were showing interest, and we felt we had to bring that move forward. So he said a similar thing can happen this year. And then he said, but there is a feeling that if the right number 6 becomes available, we might give into the market. So it appears that they haven't, as of yet, moved away from wanting to sign maybe more of a specialised number 6 than what we got. But as I said before, John, I think he's going to take some convincing, Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, for them to spend. I was going to say in January, when January is not necessarily a good month, but I think January's been pretty good to Liverpool over the years, hasn't it?
It has.
Virgil van Dijk and Suarez and Coutinho and Luis Diaz and whatever, so Cody Gakpo was here January. I don't know.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, again, it's like you were talking about before about what people saying, and I was always taught to listen, and I hate, when people roll these sayings out, I hate them. When people go, it's never a good month to buy, and I go, give me some fucking proof that it's not a good month. Yeah, it's like one of them. So, and I hate them throwaway remarks, Trevor. Oh, it's not a good month, and I'm told I disagree. I don't think there's anyone would buy it in January. But as I said before, I don't think we will. I think the short-term, long-term plan, I think is already in place. And the plan is to do whatever we do next summer. Because as we know, Trevor, we're key on getting people out through the door before we bring people in. And whoever that might be, I mean, I heard a rumour, the young boy who's at Middlesbrough Bendo is easily potentially now up for sale because he's proved himself at the Championship, and you feel that you might be able to get 15 or 20 million for him. I don't know. But also I think there's a feeling at the club that in the summer the likes of Kelleher will probably go, and then they'll feel that we're able to spend money again.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Save big money now during Menards Bag Sale. All prices after 15% Bag Sale discount. Pick up a 6-pack of LED light bulbs for just $2.97. Get a wood or fiberglass claw hammer for only $2.29 each. 52-ounce bottles of Ajax dish soap, just $2.97. And 12 packs of Shasta soda in assorted flavors are only $4.19. Don't miss out on Menards Bag Sale happening now. Good through January 12th. See store for complete details.
Save big money at Menards.